Welcome back to Math 7. Today we're going to be talking about adding and subtracting integers. So in your notebook, go ahead and write adding and subtracting integers. And it's going to be Unit 1, Lesson 3. So we're going to write 1-3. Now, last time, there wasn't actually too many notes for us to put down, but I put all of my work in Alex in that same spot. So anytime you finish, even if you don't use it for taking notes, you will be using it for doing your work. So let's go ahead and again write adding and subtracting integers here. And this is going to be Unit 1, Lesson 3. Alright, now let's go ahead and take a look at our notes. Control-Alt plus or Control-Alt equals will zoom it in. That may have been too much, so I'm going to do Control-Alt minus. Alright, now I'm going to hide that and maybe move it out of the way so I don't have to worry about it. Alright, first thing, go ahead and put in your name, today's date, and the period. And if you're watching this on a different day, go ahead and put in whatever it is that it is for you. That way you can record and you'll understand when you did stuff. Alright, so let's talk about it. Last time we focused on sort of using arrow diagrams to figure it out. But integers can also be added and subtracted using a sort of a set of rules, and we're going to call that an algorithm. So an algorithm is a set of rules that we use to follow. Alright, and it looks like I mixed a text box here, so we're going to add a little text box here. And let's talk about our rule for adding integers. If two values have the same sign, then add and use that same sign. So if we add two positives, we get a positive. If we add two negatives, we get a negative. If the signs are different, then subtract and take the sign of the term with the greater absolute value. So here we see there's a 6 and a negative 5, so we're going to take 6 minus 5 and we get 1. And the 6 was the bigger number, so we got a positive 1. Whereas now we've got negative 6 and the 5 is positive. We subtract, we still get 1, but because the term further from 0 was negative, our answer ended up being negative. Now we saw that when we did our arrow diagrams. Alright, but this time we want to try to come up with, and why different? Subtract. So we can use the arrow diagrams, but we want a shortcut that is a little bit faster. So here we want to say, are the signs the same or different? And these, I'm going to go ahead and write all of these down in my notebook as I move along. So let me pull up, my notebook got a little bit away from me. So I'm going to slide this up so I can see it and see my notebook at the same time. So we've got negative 9 plus 6. Those are opposite, so we're going to subtract. So we're going to have 3. And then notice that my bigger term, my term with a larger magnitude is negative, so it's going to be a negative 3. Alright, then let's look at B. We've got 7 plus negative 3. Notice they're opposite, so we are going to subtract. And our bigger term is positive, so we get a positive number there. Then we've got negative 11 plus 5. Again, they're opposite, so we're going to subtract. It's 6. We have a negative number, so we're going to have a negative answer. Then for D, we've got negative 6 plus negative 8. The signs are the same, so we just add them up, and we get negative 14. All right. So let's go ahead and put in those numbers. So that was -3, 4, -6, -14. Now, when we get all of these numbers, if we add up these 1, 2, 3, 4 answers here, we should get 13 as our answer. Let's jump down to this one. So I'd like you to go ahead and pause the video, work through these next 12 problems. Shouldn't take you too much time. And then I'm going to come back and we're going to go over them. All right. So these two are both positive, so we just add up like normal. Then here's a positive and a negative, so we subtract and we get 8, but our bigger term is negative, so it's actually going to be a -8. These are both negative, so we just add them up like normal, but they're negative, so we get a negative answer. This one, they're both positive. Then we get, one's positive and one's negative, so we actually need to subtract. And then our bigger term is positive. Then we've got their opposite signs again, so we subtract. They're opposite signs, so they subtract. They're the same sign, so we add. But it's negative because they're both negative. These are opposite signs, so we subtract. These are opposite signs, so we subtract. These are the same signs, so we add. These are different signs, opposite signs, so we subtract. And let's just check. So we've got -3 plus 11. That's -8. That's positive 8. Plus 5 is 13. So that one worked out. We've got 4 plus -8. That is -4. Plus another -4 is -8. Plus 9 is 1. So that one's right. We've got -6 plus -14. That's -20. Plus 6 is -14 again. And then plus 13 is -1. So that one matches up. And again, we've got -14 plus -12. That's -2. -2 plus -15 is -17. -17 plus 4, they're opposite signs, so we get -13. So everything matched up and we got all the same answers they did. And again, all that work should be in your notebook. You should be writing whether they're opposite. You should be circling the term that tells you the sign. And let's go ahead and look at the next one. So we're going to talk about the additive inverse. The additive inverse is, well, it's the thing that we call the opposite number, right? So when a number and its inverse, or opposite, are added, the sum is always what? Well, it's 0. Or you could write out 0. All right? So, and we've done that before when you've added up counters of opposite things. If they match up exactly, then everything cancels out. Now, subtracting integers, we can always rewrite the problem to add the opposite. So remember that subtracting 5 is the same as adding a -5. So if we see a subtraction, we take this number and we're going to take its opposite. Now these two are opposite, so we subtract and we get -1. These two are the same, so we add them up and we get -20. These two are opposite, so we subtract and we get 5. So think about rewriting each one of these problems, and I'm going to rewrite them in my notes over here. So again, I'm going to scroll up so I can see it. So we have got -5 minus 9. So that's -5 plus a -9. Now, the signs are the same, so we just add up like normal and keep the signs. So that's -14. Let's look at this next one. 8 minus a -3. Well, that's going to be 8 plus, what is the opposite of a -3? That's a +3. So 8 plus 3, that is 11. Then we've got -2 minus a -10. So that's -2 plus 10. These are opposite signs, so we're actually going to subtract, and then we get our value there. All right? So it's a lot easier to rewrite the problems in terms of addition. And eventually, if you practice that enough, you will be able to do it in your head, but it's hard to do in your head consistently. All right? So you're going to get some practice. So again, take a minute. Practice. You're going to need to do all 16 of these. You're going to pause the video, and then I will come back and put in, maybe I will put in these top 8 answers, and you will still have to do these bottom 8 answers. All right. So 9 minus 6 is 3. 7 minus a negative 3, that's going to be 10. Negative 11 minus 5 is negative 16. And then negative 6 minus a negative 8 is actually a positive 2. 4 minus 7 is negative 3. 1 minus a negative 9 is a positive 10. Negative 5 minus a negative 8 is a positive 3. And 3 minus 9 is negative 6. And again, I expect you to finish these other 8. Now, you should be able to add up these 3 numbers, and they should all add up to this number down here. These 2 are opposite, so it's really just these 2 numbers here should add up to this. These 2 add up to 20, so obviously that's helpful. All right, so now if you figure out these, it should tell you whether you're right, and we will be talking about it next when we do the live session. So, last thing I do need you to do is summarize what you learned today. So I know what I learned, and I know what I'm going to write here, and I'd like you to do the same. All right?